Hi guys, welcome back. So this is going to be a really quick video. I just want to talk about the ears, which is still part of the HEENT examination, and I'll do the nose, the mouth, and the neck when I come back because I'm just going somewhere really quickly. So for the ears, again, we need to start with inspection. So much of the inner ear and the middle ear are inaccessible to direct examination. So we just basically examine the external ear. So the structures relating to the external ear include the auricle, the helix, the antihelix, the tragus here. This is called the lobule, and obviously the ear canal. So we look for things like any deformities, any swelling, any redness, any lesions, any obstruction in the ear canal, either with foreign objects or with cerumen or earwax. And if there's earwax, we note its consistency and we note its color. So after the general inspection of the external or the outer ear, we then use a special device called an otoscope to look deeper into the ear canal and the eardrum. So we get our otoscope, we turn it on. It has a light which would help us visualize the inner ear. And basically, if you have an adult patient, you can, to straighten the ear canal and to like help you visualize it better, you can pull the auricle up and back a little bit and then insert the otoscope. And we're looking for things like, again, cerumen, any foreign bodies that's obstructing the ear canal. And the tympanic membrane normally should have no perforations or no abnormal secretions or exudates. After the inspection of the external ear and the inner ear using an otoscope, we move on to palpation. So we basically do like the tug test. So the tug test involves grasping the tragus and pulling it up and down, just like so, and the auricle, pulling it up and down and pressing on the tragus. So if there's any pain during these two maneuvers, then this may suggest otitis externa or the inflammation of the external ear. And we can also do, I don't know what it's called, but we just press on the mastoid bone in the mastoid process. And if there's any pain or tenderness there, then this may indicate mastoiditis. And then after inspection, palpation, we move on to testing like hearing acuity. So firstly we do the whispered voice test. So that just means that we go to the patient's back, so we go behind the patient and we occlude one side of their ear by just pressing on it just to block it, so they can't hear in that ear. We can also rub it, which prevents, you know, them hearing well from that ear. And we just whisper like a combination of 3 letters and numbers. So let me just demonstrate. So for instance, okay, I am the patient and the doctor. So I occlude this ear, and then the doctor whispers like a combination of 3 letters and 3 numbers. For instance, 2AX, but whisper like 2AX. And then the doctor then asks the patient to repeat those series of number and letters. And if there's no hearing loss, then the patient would be successful in doing so. And then you just do that with the other ear using a different combination of letters and numbers. And if you suspect any hearing loss, then you need to do the Rene Test and the Weber test. So the Weber test is the test for lateralization. So this involves, I don't have a tuning fork, but imagine this is a tuning fork, a 512 Hertz tuning fork. We strike it on like this is the heel of our hand, yeah, and it should vibrate. And then we put it on top of the patient's head, like so. And we ask them, where do you hear the sound, or where do you hear the sound the loudest? And physiologically speaking, so normally the patient should hear it equally loud on both sides. If they report lateralization, or meaning that they hear it louder on one side compared to the other, then this indicates, so for instance, I'll give you an example. If the patient hears it louder on this side, so this is my right side, on the right ear, then this indicates conductive hearing loss on this ear, or sensorineural hearing loss on the opposite ear. Because recall, I've already spoke about this in the, I think, cranial nerve examination. So please watch that for further explanation, because I just don't have time to explain this today. But, okay, so if there's lateralization reported, so if it's louder on like one ear, for instance, this ear, again, this ear can have conductive hearing loss, because in unilateral conductive hearing loss, the sound lateralizes on the affected side. And in case of unilateral sensorineural hearing loss, the sound lateralizes on the unaffected side. So if it lateralizes here, then this ear may have sensorineural hearing loss. If the patient hears it like equally loud on both sides, that can have three different outcomes or diagnoses. So that can either be normal, or the patient can have bilateral conductive hearing loss, or bilateral sensorineural hearing loss. And to help us further investigate and determine if it's conductive or sensorineural, if it's bilateral or not, we do the Rene test. So the Rene test, similar principle: get a tuning fork, 512 Hz tuning fork. You tap it or strike it on like the heel of your hand or something, and you place the tuning fork on the mastoid bone just behind the ear, and you ask the patient to let you know when they stop hearing the sound. So you put it there, and then they said, now, like, I don't hear anymore. You place it next to their ear. You know, like the tuning fork has like a U shape, so that U shape has to be facing forwards, okay? So you place it next to their ear and ask them, do you still hear the sound? If they still hear the sound, this means that air conduction is working, okay? So from this, we can rule out conductive hearing loss because they can still hear it. So this is what we would expect. So this is normal. This is the physiological response, because in any given situation, air conduction is more efficient or is greater than bone conduction. So that's what they should hear. So this is actually the positive Rene test. So I do this, and when I put it next to their ear, they can still hear it. We rule out conductive hearing loss, which means that this ear can either be normal or can have sensorineural hearing loss. If, for example, I put it on the mastoid bone and then I put it next to their ear and they don't hear it anymore, this means that bone conduction is greater than air conduction, or bone conduction equals air conduction. And then in this case, this ear will have conductive hearing loss, okay? So I hope that's clear.